Joining us this week is Tony Roach. Tony, thank you so much for coming on.
No
Tony,
problem.
you are a senior at a pretend high school. What do you call it again?
Lombardies.
We haven't made fun of your high school for a while.
You haven't.
No, that was a kind of it was a momentary thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. We're going to be kind of in 3 different parts of the Old Testament today because I only want to talk about really sad stuff.
Yeah.
Before we get to the sad stuff in the Old Testament, though, my question for you is, what conventionally girly thing do you most wish guys could do and be accepted for? Like painting nails, wearing dresses or skirts, wearing makeup, high heels.
I don't know if this is like a universally girly thing, but at least in the like group I'm in of like how guys are and how girls are, we really should be giving each other more back massages.
That's true. Women,
My back hurts right now. I'm leaning like this.
a guy can't walk up to you, like a male best friend can't walk up to you and start rubbing your back and have everyone be like, yeah, that's a normal thing.
Yeah, that's sad.
When it comes to physical affection, women have it figured out. Guys we're really stupid about this.
Yeah, it's like don't touch each other and maybe slap a butt, but other than that,
But
you just can't.
it has to be in humor. Like you can't slap a butt sincerely. Well, I'm not sure how one does that anyways, but
I just need a hug sometimes, you know?
I'm so sorry. If it weren't for a pandemic, well, I won't give you a hug either way, but I would find someone that could hug you appropriately.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the thought.
Okay, so like we said, we're going to be jumping around the Old Testament, so don't worry about trying to find the chapter and verse. We will have it both in the materials as well as I'll read it to you briefly. First, we're going to start in Joshua. The story of Joshua is that the Israelites have finally made it out of wandering in the desert for 40 years. They've arrived in Palestine, Israel, Canaan, whatever you want to call it. And their charge is to go in, get rid of everyone that lives there, and then make this the new home for God's chosen people. The problem is the fact that there's people living there that they have to get out in the first place. They have very clear instructions from God, though, of what they're supposed to do. In chapter 6, verse 21, they, the Israelites, devoted the city to the Lord and destroyed with the sword every living thing in it, men and women, young and old, cattle, sheep, and donkeys. So my question for you, Tony, is war ever justified?
Starting off easy.
Yes.
I would think typically no.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's like if people just didn't go to war with Hitler, you know, what would have happened?
There were several years where no one went to war with Hitler out of a sense of, we just went through World War I, the Great War, the war to end all wars. The last thing anyone wants is every European country plus a bunch of others to go to war again.
Yeah.
But then if they didn't do anything, what would have happened?
We'd be eating some good German food right now.
We would be forced to eat good German food.
Yeah.
We have the freedom to choose to eat good German food.
I think that preventative war, where it's like it's either you go to war now or more people die anyway, like kind of a greater good thing, I guess could be justified, but typically for war, like just for war's sake, or like, I want that land, so I'll go get it. I don't really see a good way to justify that ever.
The justification, though, was that the people that lived in Canaan, the Canaanites, were worshiping the wrong God. They were doing awful, immoral things, human sacrifice, etc. The idea was that if the Israelites can get rid of everyone who lives in this place, essentially erase that culture, if they can erase that culture from the face of the earth, no one will follow in their footsteps of doing those awful, bad, terrible things. So I guess one of my questions is, if we kill all the evil people, isn't that a good way to get rid of evil in the world?
Well, kind of, but not really. I mean, first of all, I just think it's different back then, because like, right now, if some country was like, I'm going to kill off this entire country because we think their culture's bad, that wouldn't be acceptable really to anyone.
Right.
That's like what Hitler did.
Correct.
But on the other hand, I mean, multiple things, they were like making human sacrifices, which is typically seen as bad. And also, it was like a different time, so I guess things like that were different, and they were doing somewhat evil things for sure, but it's like, just because you kill off all the you're never going to kill off all the evil people. And just, even if you do, it's not like no one's ever going to want to do wrong again. Humans are naturally sinful, so it's like, you're fighting a battle you can't win, so it's just, you're just killing people then.
Okay, well then, how do we get rid of evil then? Or is that not even an endeavor that's worth pursuing?
I wouldn't say not worth it, I'd just say not possible.
Is it worth it though?
If we could, yeah. I think...
But then you're saying that it's not. So if it's not possible to rid the world of evil, we shouldn't even try.
Well, no, that's... In the context of war, I'm saying it's not like you should go around just killing all the people who are evil.
You shouldn't just wage war against people because they do bad things.
I think there should be a war waged against evil, but not literal war. Like, more of just actively going out and trying to be kind to others, kind of thing, like that generic stuff.
Killing evil with kindness, essentially.
Yeah, I think that should constantly be going on. People should always be fighting evil in that sense. But when you're going around killing people who you think are evil, first of all, we're humans and we're going to be wrong about what's evil and what's not sometimes.
True.
We're not perfect. And also, it's just like, even if you successfully find who the evil people are, and it says like all this one country is all evil people, and you kill them, at least today, it's like other people are going to be upset about that, even if they're completely in the wrong, because it's still killing, so it's like that's not going to be very effective in just like making the world a better place. It wouldn't last.
True, because not everyone's going to see it the same way.
Yeah, we're not all going to agree on something ever again like that. Just because
Or I don't think we ever did. I mean,
yeah, that's true. But
if
now,
you think of World War II.
Yeah.
The reason why there was a war to be fought is because so many people agreed with Hitler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't a universally agreed upon thing that the Holocaust was bad. It's still tragically not a universally agreed upon thing that the Holocaust was awful.
Yeah, so it's just like, I think fighting a physical war against evil is kind of hopeless, but fighting a more spiritual war is always a good thing to be doing.
What about if we make the punishment for evil so bad that we can get rid of evil? Let me give examples. This is from Leviticus chapter 20. This is verses 2, 9, and 10. This is the Lord, this is God talking about this. This is talking about what kind of punishments should exist for being bad. Say to the Israelites, any Israelite or any alien living in Israel who gives any of his children to Molek must be put to death. The people of the community are to stone him. Verse 9, if anyone curses his father or mother, he must be put to death. He has cursed his father or his mother, and his blood will be on his own head. And verse 10, if a man commits adultery with another man's wife, with the wife of his neighbor, both the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death. So, with those three verses as context, if we make the punishment for being bad enough, where it's literally like, we have an epidemic of jaywalking in this country.
It's horrible.
The only way we're going to be able to get people to stop jaywalking so much is if the punishment for jaywalking is you have to lose your legs. We're going to cut your legs off. A severe punishment and effective deterrent against evil. And if so, should we have more draconian punishments for simple crimes?
Jeez, that's... Well, okay.
All fun questions on Take Away from Ben Gray.
In a perfect world, I think that what you're saying is a good idea. Not to the extremes that you're saying, but if people do wrong, they should be punished to deter from it. But then there are so many other factors that, in 2020 and just the modern world, it's always got to be way more complicated because of how many people there are and how many bad choices we're going to make.
And our inability to agree on what's bad and good.
Yeah, first of all, some people are going to think, no, that's wrong. I should be able to be an adulterer or whatever. There are going to be people who think that.
Yeah.
And also, it's if the second I would commit adultery, it's not like I'm immediately going to be killed or whatever. It's
not today. But in ancient Israel, yeah.
Well, no, but here's the thing. I'm saying that today, maybe I just don't get caught.
Oh, that's true, yes.
It's not 100% like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Because
the punishment only exists for those who get caught.
Yeah, so it's like, it just makes people want to be sneakier about it. And also, it's like, there's a certain thrill to doing things that aren't allowed. So if the government's just like, okay, we're putting all these rules in place, a lot of people wouldn't follow them, and it could make the country a lot more likely to be rebellious, just as like a whole sense of, this is tyranny, I don't like this government, let's do a new one.
So are any laws effective then?
There's gotta be a balance of like how serious they are. I think that people shouldn't be mean to each other generally, but I don't think there should be a law against people being mean to each other.
My last question in the last passage of scripture is kind of, it's only loosely tied in thematically with this, but it's from Exodus chapter 20, which is the Ten Commandments. And this is the verse that specifically I want to talk about, is verse 12. Honor your father and your mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. This is tucked in along with things like, you shall have no other God before me. Don't make idols. Remember the Sabbath. Don't use the Lord's name in vain. And right after honor your father and mother, it says very simply, do not murder. So I guess my question for you is two parts. How do you honor your mom and dad? And two, why should you honor your mom and dad?
Well, for me, and I can be pretty bad at this sometimes, is I think you need to, at certain points, even if you believe certain things, you kind of need to respect their judgment. And if they say, no, this is a bad idea and we won't do this, you can silently disagree with them, or even vocally disagree with them, but still go with it. And like, trust them to a certain extent. I think
obedience and trust.
Yeah, it's like, if they tell you to go kill somebody, probably don't do that. But to a certain point, it's like, I think you just have to kind of live how they want you to live in a certain way. It's kind of like a mutual respect thing. It's like, on the one hand, you have to kind of, while you're like growing up, you just kind of got to follow their rules and learn, and then you could like make changes when you're an adult and like, okay, well, this was a really good lesson that my mom taught me. This thing she did was nuts. I'm not going to do that.
So honoring your parent is in part kind of silently going along with the insanity that most parents exhibit until you're old enough that you don't have to listen to them anymore.
Well, not even silently. It's just like, at the end of the day, they have the final say. Like, I mean, this may shock you, but I vocally protest quite often in my household.
I would believe that.
Yeah, and it's like, and I often take it too far where I'm like, no, I just am going to be this way and that's how it is. But I think it's like...
Do you mean you're disrespectful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's like...
Is that what it's talking about here? Is God basically just saying, be respectful of your parents?
Well, no. What I think honoring them is like, at the end of the day, if you're still disagreeing, you should honor what they want for you. And it's a mutual honor where while you honor them, your parents also have to honor you at the same time. Like, okay, my kid's not a complete idiot. He or she knows some things. I'm not going to restrict every part of their life, but I'm going to try to guide them.
So there's lots of moments in the Old Testament and the New Testament where there's instructions given to parents on how they ought to treat their children. And it's essentially what you're saying is that treat them respectfully, treat your children respectfully, and bring them up to be good people with good morals and all this different stuff. But why is honor your father and mother? How does that make it into the top 10? How does that precede don't kill people?
I would agree with it, in not the sense of like dishonoring your mother one day versus killing someone one day. It's like killing someone's worse. But I think for somebody who like treats their parents with respect and their parents treat them with respect, as long as they're not like somehow inherently evil parents, I think that's going to raise a child who's not going to be a murderer. And I think it's like, it's not just the idea of go wash the dishes. It's more of the idea of learn the lessons from your parents that they're going to teach you, and you're going to turn out a lot better than if you wouldn't.
You see any kind of theme that ties together the idea of just war, the idea of rehabilitation over retribution, and the idea of respect and honoring our elders.
How to actively add good in the world.
On the largest scale of here's how nations ought to treat each other, And then on the smaller scale, here's how communities ought to treat each other. And then on the smallest scale, here's how families ought to treat each other.
Yeah, that's a good way.
This has been another episode of 10 Feet Away from Ben Gray. Thank you so much to Tony for joining us this week. I look forward to this being the first and last episode that you've ever watched, I'm guessing.
Honestly, I probably won't watch this one because it's me and I don't like my voice, but I'll watch future ones.
Okay, deal, that sounds good. You can go back and watch old ones too, they're all on YouTube still.
Definitely gonna do that.
Okay. Make sure you check out both the questions that came in the packet as well as the text. If you would like to join as a guest in the future, please let us know. You can drop us a line using a crow or a brick through the window. We can use that joke before, but it's a good one.
I haven't heard it.
Have a great week. We'll see you later.
I think it's like we had the founding fathers, right? And they
Yeah.
built a sink. And now we're however many years later, and we have a bunch of old white dudes saying the sink is fine, we just gotta fix it. It's like, let's get a new sink.